All right, good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. We have an alert that may come breaking in here shortly. So let's go ahead and read our disclaimers, get started for the morning. Trading foreign exchange on margin carries a high level of risk and may not be suitable for all investors. The high degree of leverage can work against you as well as for you. Before deciding to invest in foreign exchange, you should carefully consider your investment objectives, level of experience, and risk appetite. The possibility exists that you could sustain a loss of some or all of your initial investment, and therefore you should not invest money that you cannot afford to lose. You should be aware of all the risks associated with foreign exchange trading and seek advice from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts. Again, this live trading room is for education purposes only. No financial advice or recommendations will be provided. If Al or myself or Matt take a trade in a particular pair, that is not a recommendation that you should do the same. You need to make sure that you, again, past performance is not indicative of future results. And you want to make sure that you're trading with a trading plan, something that tells you when to get in, what you're going to do to get out, how you're going to manage your trade, and your targets. Al, are you available and ready to share your screen?
I'm here, Brian. Can you hear me okay?
I don't think your mic, I see your mic is open, but I cannot hear you. So I am going to go ahead.
Mic problems this morning. Hang on a second.
There you go. I'm going to go ahead and close this down, and while he's
okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
There you go. Can you share
okay,
your screen?
Yeah, I have my something's. Hang on a second.
Yep.
Test.
Slide that over just in case you're having technical difficulties. We are in our US CAD wedge as of right now, and I am in this trade already. And
hey, Brian, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay,
good.
Yeah,
Loud and clear.
A little technical problem there. Okay, go ahead and keep on going with the US CAD. I'm working on the US Swiss right now. It's not quite ready yet.
This one's just started out. That's why I try to read as quickly as possible. I got in already, and I got in right here, right as it broke up. So my stop is down here, which is nice to having it below the wedge, and then target's right about there. And we're just going to watch it now. We're going to see what's going to happen here, and I will go back and replay how we drew it to make sure you guys understand where it's at and everything.
If it does pull back into the entry zone, he didn't mark up an entry zone on here, or at least I didn't see it, but
it's right here. Here's your green button, here's your wedge. So if it comes back in, you still have an opportunity if you wanted so to. So
yeah, you got your 3 hull moving averages that are in your direction on the break. You have a 513.62 cross on the 5-minute. You actually have a 513.62 cross on the 15-minute as well, and on the 1-minute. So we're talking a pretty substantial move. Yeah. Anyway, I'm in that trade, and here's that pullback you're looking for. So anyway, I'm excited enough as it is. I'll let you guys go.
Yeah, this one kind of rushed in on it. It's been waiting since, when we set it up earlier today, gave us a slight head fake right here. Still wasn't 7 pips. So if you happen to be up and working this morning and trading, that could have got you. I'd like to see a little bit better. I don't like to enter on a red candle. So I did. I had this one, and then it red, and then blue. And this is where I got filled. So we're on our way to seeing what's happening. US is strong 2-0 on the RCS, at least on the 15-minute, 4-0 on the 1, and 4-0 on the 5. So this could be a short push up and then level out. Because again, we had the 7 o'clock hour. We had a close of a bunch of different candles all at one time, 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock y'all's time.
Mr. Mittman.
Yeah, I am back here again.
It's your turn, my friend, I think.
Okay. I'm looking at the US Swiss, and actually that's looks like it's just breaking to the downside. It hasn't quite, well, let me share my screen.
I'll unshare mine then.
Okay. And I'm going to share my screen. Okay. I need to, I'm not getting screen sharing yet. There, Brian.
Oh,
You
you should be panelist, right?
Yeah.
It should
Yeah.
just work.
Try
Yeah.
again.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I'm having some problems this morning. I can see that.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
Nice.
Now I have it. Now you should see my screen.
We see your screen. We're good.
Okay, here's where I drew the wedge on the 15-minute chart. It was an ascending wedge. I started all the way down here, picked up my C at this point before the wedge, and right now it's just testing the bottom of the wedge. It did give me a little bit of a head fake up to the top here, but right now I'm looking at with the Swiss being stronger to the downside, and causing it to be stronger to the downside. If I look at my 1-minute chart, I've got my here my wedge. I've got my 2 pip area right here, which is 52 to 50-ish, right about in there. We did come down into the area. It pulled back into the wedge, but all my moving averages are in the correct direction, and all my strength meters are in the correct direction right now as well. I've got a 5.2 on the 1 minute, a 5.1, and this one's starting to pull, get a little bit stronger. It was bouncing back and forth, but right now it's showing strength to the downside with the Swiss. All my whole moving averages were all red right here on this down move, and once this thing turns, the third one turns red, we're starting to get a little bit of a bounce of the RSIs. If I can get both these RSIs to pull out of that lower 60 region pointing down, we should be well on our way to a breakout for the trade.
I like how it's pulling away from the 62. You see that? That's a nice.
It's starting to get a little bit more area between the 62 and the 13. This is starting to pull away. You see how tight it was up here? We had the crossover, the 1362 crossover, and now it's getting a little bit stronger, pulling further away. That's a good sign for a continuation of this downward move. And the target is going to be somewhere, once I get into this trade, the target should be somewhere around short position. If I can get filled in right around in this area.
And just remember, there's just a little bit of correlation. Obviously, you're still trading the U.S. In this case, you're actually trading the Swiss franc strength if you're in the U.S. yen too, or CAD, I'm sorry.
Right. So here's if we can get a fill somewhere right around in this area, here would be the target down here. And we should have a Fibonacci zone somewhere around this area. So this could be the next target. We have a little bit of a red line here, blue. It tested the blue, and it usually goes from blue to blue. And with a little bit, everything working in the right direction, we should be able to get this. If we can get past this line right here of the 94.48, we can get through that. The next stop would be the 94.41 area.
Yeah, even before seeing that, I already had my take profit at 94.40. So it's we'll see what happens.
So now we wait.
Is that your 30-minute 62 sitting under there?
That's the 30-minute 62, this blue one right here. Yeah, that's the 30-minute 62.
All right, guys. So a little bit of, not to go too deep into nothing, but I'm liking it to the downside because that 62 likes to interact with price. So price likes to hug it. So that we're so high up, and the 1-minute 62 is going down, and the 30-minute 62 is kind of creeping towards it. It's a pretty good sign. Not guaranteed, but the probabilities are there, right? All we're doing is stacking probabilities in our favor.
And one little thing we're going to have a little bit of a problem with is that right now all the moving averages are crossing into the right direction, but my moving averages aren't quite in the right direction here. We have the 5 up the top. These are actually going in the wrong direction, and we're also looking at a bounce off the 62 on the 15-minute chart. That could be a little bit problematic, but it also is right at the bottom of the wedge. So if it breaks the wedge, you're not seeing it real clearly because of the just of the way we drew it. We drew it so precise on the 1 minute that it's not quite showing that it's actually reaching this bottom of the wedge on the 15-minute chart. Let me take this one off here and sync that. We don't need that on here. And that's at 94.49, which is pretty much right in this area where we'd be looking at perhaps getting into this trade.
I'm gonna go hunt and bring some more people in here. I'm gonna blast out a message to all the community just so people are aware that we are live and we got some stuff going on.
I see some new people in the room, so good morning. If you have a question, make sure you put it in the Q&A area, not the chat. But all questions are welcome, Peter. So, and then it says, what's the rules for how you guys take an IRIS alert? We take the alert, we draw the wedge. We'll go through that again here once things kind of settle back into a groove. We got an hour and a half today, so or at least that. It's a longer day today, so we'll go specific through the rules. We all have pretty much similar ways of getting in, managing it, and things like that. So that will be covered today too. Are you trying to trade as the lines go up or when they come down or both? When you're drawing a wedge, I'm assuming you're talking about when you draw a wedge, which direction of the trade. We're not even concerned really about the direction of the wedge.
We pretty much just let the price action tell us which way it's breaking.
And so we'll explain how we do our little entry zones and things like that. Those are just things, guidelines for ourselves.
And we say we use a 15, a 5, and a 1-minute chart. We draw the wedge on the 15 and we fine tune it onto the 5 and onto the 1-minute chart. And so that's our main chart that we're looking at.
And your wedge is in orange.
Yeah, and the wedge is in orange. And you can see that we just sort of tweak it as tight as we can get it. But this one's off just a little bit here, I think. And this is a target area right here where this C area is, where the pivot, once it breaks the wedge, which is breaking right now, this would be a pretty good target area. We also have some major lines right here that we use for reference. These green, blue, green, red, and blue lines we use for reference for targets. They are just basically price points on a price line. Has nothing to do with price itself, other than the fact that price seems to get attracted to and bounce off of those levels. That's what we call our Fibonacci tool that we use. And we can we'll talk about that later.
So what are you waiting for to enter on this one? New red candle?
Well, actually, right now, with this red candle that came down, we got a blue candle. So now if we get another red candle, that we be in this trade.
Does it have to close red?
It doesn't have to. All it's got to do is all this has to go from a blue candle and just start turning red. Right now, I would be in like right now. Right now we're in. So actually, let me see if I can sell. Right here. And you can see where my spread got out. The spread is. I pushed a button right here, and this was the spread. I did a market order. You have almost a 1.5 point spread. So this is where the actual fill was. And we're looking for 7 pips. And that brings us right down to this area, this level right down here. We had a nice move down, came back, retraced back, came back into the wedge. And right now we had a red, blue, and now we're looking at another red candle. And right now you can see where it's respecting this 13 period, the yellow exponential moving average. It's respecting that. All my HMAs, all my whole moving averages are all red. My RSIs are coming out of the 60-40 zone, both pointing down, heading towards the 11 RSI level. It broke the wedge, it broke the 2 pip area, now it's closed below, and now here it goes. And we're looking for our 7 pips.
I'm setting targets, so if you're hearing ding, that sound, it's not me getting out of a trade, it's actually setting targets. I don't know if y'all could hear that or not.
And now we wait. We look at all 3 time frames. We see the Swiss is strong on all 3 time frames. I'd like to see this one get a little bit stronger. We can get the Swiss coming up towards the 6 and 7 area. This thing should give us a nice little trade.
And where's your target line for this one?
Right now the target's at 94.43. I'll go and put a little mark in here. Oh, the target 1.
Good area.
And if I look at my other fib line, I'll see that that's, I've got this set for a 15 pip profit just in case this thing just spikes down and goes right through the 7. And, so I'm going to move this up just a little bit. Just a little bit above where this, just a little bit above where that yellow line is. That yellow line is basically right here at the C point. When I drew my wedge, this was a basic, this was a pivot area. So oftentimes the price goes sideways in the trend. And so it goes from pivot area to pivot area point. So this would be my target, my first target right down here. Pretty much right, and that's where I just set this just a couple pips above. So actually I have it at 10 pips. If it comes down and challenges this target 1 where I have it marked off my trade here, I'll just manually take the trade out. But if it get a nice little spike down, it may pick up this one as well, just get a few extra pips.
Peter, it's really not. We just, Al, he says it's a little bit advanced for him. It's not really all that advanced. It's just you jumped in on a morning where we immediately got into a trade. That doesn't normally happen. And so what we'll do is we will go back and show you. You're getting alerts from AIRIS, and that alert is then you draw. So it is a more manual trading style, a little more hands-on. It's day trading. It's not scalping, but it's more of a day trading thing.
Yeah, guys, this is usually not how it goes in the morning.
No. Yeah.
Usually we're sitting on alerts and stuff and we're just waiting, and then we talk about the game plan. We talk about the strategy. We talk about how we draw 2 trend lines. We look for AIRIS for a breakout. We don't take the trade within the wedge. We take it on a lower time frame to get a more precise entry. We look for a pass and check on the trend line. There's a couple things that we do that today is actually just a whirlwind, okay? There's lots of stuff going on really fast. We just want to bring a lot of value to you guys early on so we can put our pips in the bank potentially and go into some more education and how you can get to a point where you're seeing the trades maybe the same way or similar to what Al, myself, and Brian will see. And I can keep on talking until we have some action. If we got,
actually, what's basically what we're seeing right now on this Swiss? We drew the wedge. We had the alert way back here at 6:15. I said it was 6:15, or was this an earlier one, later one? Yeah, 615 was where we had the wedge, and so we drew it and actually came all the way up here, and it kind of gave us a little bit of a head fake, and then it's cycled in between inside the wedge, and now it's breaking out the bottom. You can see where it broke this trend line, which is basically what a wedge is. It's the trend line, and you can see where, if you draw, the way I draw my wedges is I come all the way back in a seat. I try and find where I can get 3 hits on a trend line. This was actually the second hit, and then came over here. Here's where the third hit, where it breached this trend line. It came in, it breached it, it couldn't close above, went back up into above, came back in, now it closed above. It had a little bit of a basing area here where it had a red candle followed by 2 very small blue candles, and then another red candle that broke the bottom of our 2 pip range. This is basically our entry zone. If I can think I have this thing set. An entry zone to buy. So where it breaks the wedge, to have our 2 pips, in this area is where we try to get in. Once we get in, then we can also draw a trend line off from that was developed inside the wedge, which I could say from right here. And this is the line we're trying to maintain along with that 13 moving average, which is the yellow moving average line. And right now we're in this trade until either we hit our target or it breaks out through the top of this trend line. If it breaks to the top of the trend line, I'll allow it to come and retest the wedge, but you'll see that my stop is going to be way up here. So if all these things happen and it breaks this on the way up, I'll be out of this trade. Because right now, this thing should hit my target before it retraces back into the wedge. If it retraces back into the wedge, something may be wrong, or just not enough of a volume to be able to push it down into our target zone. We're only looking at 7 pips, and 7 pips is a normal range on a 1 minute chart. Is a normal range to be seeing a strong candle move.
US CAD hit its target, by the way.
Good job.
Yeah.
So now basically we're in the trade, and now we're waiting to see if we can get our target.
Oh, you were in earlier than I was then, because I still didn't hit my target. I'm up 1 pip, but you know.
It spiked in. It spiked in on mine 3 minutes ago.
That's what happened.
But right now with this, yeah, well, good. Yeah, well, I didn't even take that. I didn't take the CAD trade. But right now I'm still looking with the Swiss. I'm in this trade. And the Swiss is still Swiss is still the strongest on all 3 time frames. The Swiss is the second currency of the U.S. Swiss pair, and that means that when the Swiss is strong, it means it's going to the downside.
So Peter's got another question here. Fantastic question, actually. So yeah, because you're a member of Auvoria Prime, if you do already have Einstein or Alexander and you're running that, fantastic. You can actually add AIRIS to your subscription for $39.99, which is a significant discount compared to what a lot of other people are paying if they have it as a standalone product. It's $110. So if you're not taking advantage of it right now, I would consider opening that up for your future. You know, we like to say that Alexander and Einstein are your savings account on steroids, but your real freedom account is when you're manually trading these wedges like this. This is how I'm doing it. Yeah, these are fully available in the U.S. and in the vast majority of the countries around the world. As long as you can process payments, you should be fine to use our products.
And being that you're a Auvoria Prime member, you can come into these sessions and learn in demo, even with us, every day.
Yeah, demo is your lab, guys. There's a couple theories out there around demo trading. Some people demo to win. If you're new, demo to learn. Figure out what doesn't work. Draw the wedges. If you don't know how to draw a wedge, we're going to get into that in the next little bit. Ooh, look at that candle.
It's coming up to retest. Right now we're getting the 1362 cross. This is on a 5-minute chart. We're getting the 1362 cross is coming up to retest the 62. We're still well away from our stop way up here at 7 pips. And right now, all the moving averages are in the right direction on this 5-minute chart. We have the 62 followed by the 13. We have that cross, which is a good thing. And then we have the 5-period moving average, which is now leading. It's just coming back to retest the 62, and we'll see if it becomes significant to us.
Hey, as you keep on getting exposed to trading or this style of trading, most people, they don't play around on the lower time frames. And the lower time frames will take some getting used to. They can potentially scare you as well. If it's the first time you've ever messed around with a 1-minute chart, you know, it'll take a little while to get used to, but you'll get there. Just keep on exposing yourself to the system and to AIRIS and have a really big why. Understand why you're trading the Forex, why you want to persist without exception, no matter how hard it may be at the beginning. Know that we were all there at one point, is that we are maybe just a little bit further down the road than some other people, and our own goal is to bring people to where we are in the Forex faster than it took us to get there. Some of us had paid thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars to learn to trade the Forex. And just being honest, guys, like $10,000, $20,000 to learn to trade the Forex, that's pretty average. I've got a couple thousand trying to learn. You're getting in at potentially $110 a month, and you're learning to trade the Forex? There's no other place in the world where you can get this this amount of education, this quality of education, these live sessions. It's not just video that you're paying. Like, I paid a couple $1,000s for videos of trading systems. You know what? I didn't have live trading like this where people are taking trades live. They're showing me what they're doing. I can replicate it on a demo account until I start feeling comfortable enough to take the trades on my own. There's so much value here. In the real world, having these live sessions, what do you think it would be worth to a person? Brian or Al, what, like $500 a month? A session every day? Multiple sessions? Like,
at least $500 a month.
Like, guys, everyone has no problem going to university and spending $20,000 and $10,000 and even $5,000 for trade school. They don't even bat an eye. But when it comes down to the Forex, I want everything for free. I want to go out and I want to find everything on the internet. You know what? Get over the internet, okay? Your time is so valuable. Put a little bit of money into your time so that you can get the best value for your time. Like, there's a lot of free junk on the internet. There are gold nuggets hidden, but there's so many pages of Forex and searching and strategies, and this is the best one and that's the best one. And everyone has the best one, and everyone's trying to sell you something. This is just what works. There's not no sales job. You know, if this didn't work, I would not put my name behind it. If this was not what I'm doing personally and I'm personally trading, I would not teach it. I would not coach it. I would not support it. Because I've seen too many systems out there that fail and are no good. All a bunch of hype. There's no hype here. This just works.
Now, if you notice just right now, it just came right up and just tagged that red fib line.
Yeah, 47 hours of live sessions a month.
And most professionals, guys, when I'm back in the day, between anywhere we would be $75 to $200 an hour.
Oh, by far.
That would be normal. That would be our normal beginner level.
By far. I
And
mean,
that was back early 2000s.
yeah.
I don't know what they charge now because I'm not doing that anymore. But
Oh, no. I am in the banking industry. My day job is an analyst. I'm a senior analyst for one of Canada's largest banks. I understand the cost of what education is and what systems are and how much financial institutions will pay for software like this or this kind of level of coaching or guidance. We've had day seminars that are $10,000. But $110? If a person's not at the point where they can afford to pay $110 a month, there's no way you can find $500 or $50 to fund a trading account. You got to invest in your future plans, your bigger plans. Go sell your TV. Go sell junk that you've got, you know? What's that going to do for you? Go on Kijiji or go on Craigslist and start selling the junk you're not using anymore. Get rid of it and just put it in a trading account. That's what I did. It's not like I had a whole bunch of capital to my name. It's a one household, like single income earning family. And we just took all the stuff, all the junk that we had, and we just started selling it and putting that into a trading account. And little by little, working over and doing the best we could with what we were given, we've then we're a little bit more comfortable now, where just because this pandemic happens doesn't mean we're all freaking out, because no matter what happens, the Forex can become, over the course of time, your actual safety net. A safety net to say, hey, who cares what happens? I can still make money from my desktop. I can still make money from the go. I can go on my own island. I can do whatever I need to do. So it's special. UCAD came up a little bit there.
Yeah, it did. It gave us a little bit of a challenge right at that point, but it still seems to be supporting this our 2 pip buy up, but still supported within this our buy zone. So we're still okay. It's still it had a little bit of a head fake up here, but you see it was a strong candle up, a strong candle back down. So there's a lot of resistance right in this area where it's still having a little struggle getting it going up higher. But right now we have all 3 Hall moving averages. Well, this one just went back green, but the higher time frame, the 15, the 5, and the 1 are all green, or excuse me, all red. Now RSI, I'm back on the 1 minute chart. If you didn't notice that, I'm back on the 1 minute chart. Now this thing is starting to come back up again. It's still right in this middle area between the 60 and the 40 zone. Still having a little bit of a struggle, seeing which way it's going to go.
We got a pretty good crowd here this morning, guys. We got a pretty good crowd. I've been trying to light up the chats a little bit, keep people informed. You know, we're still very new to this platform and doing the live sessions and getting everyone plugged in. So let your people know. There might be something here. Maybe you get one golden nugget. Maybe there's just one little thing you can add to your trading strategy or your trading game plan. I think that's worth time, right? You're learning from people that have been there and done that. They put in the hours. We've put, I don't even want to talk about how many hours. I know myself personally over the last 2-3 years, it's about 4,500 hours. So 10,000 hours in Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, talks about being the top of the top. Well, not quite there yet, but we're getting there. Now, I'm pretty sure Al is, what would you say, Al? Are you beyond 10,000 hours of Forex chart time?
Yeah, I would have to say that I've spent, for the last 15 years, I've spent looking at charts probably 8 hours or on an average of 4 hours a day would not be over the top to estimate. I haven't counted them all up, but I spent the better part of my last 15 years or 12 years anyway, just looking at charts and trying to figure out how to do this. And I can say that I haven't found anything in the last 15 years that surpasses what we're doing right now.
Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear what Al just said? 15 years has never found anything like wedges.
My performance since we started trading the wedges has been pretty phenomenal. And I'll say this, is that when I first started trading the wedges, I figured, how in the world is this? I mean, everything I took was in the wrong direction. And it wasn't until we worked out this methodology on not predicting which way it's going to break, just looking at the price action, looking at some of these strength indicators and momentum indicators and directional indicators that we have. Then it finally got to the point where, okay, now it makes sense. And it was just like a light bulb came on and things just started clicking after that. But when you first start trading the wedges, if someone says, okay, here's an alert, trade the wedge, draw it here or draw it there, unless you know how to draw the wedge, it's if you say, well, if it's a descending wedge, it's going to break to the top, or if it's an ascending wedge, it's going to break to the bottom. You can't hang your hat on that. What's really important is where the higher time frame trend line lies, where you get that support of the trend line. And you can see that that's when I draw my wedges. Sometimes I go back maybe a little bit further, and maybe the wedge is a little bit wider than a lot of people do. But what I'm doing is I'm looking for higher time frame support and resistance to a trend line, which is basically what the wedge is. And then when it starts to break, and I can start seeing where it develops another trend. Like right here, you can see it's starting to develop another trend from the upper part of this trend. Here was where it broke the wedge, it gave us a little head fake, came back up, retested it. So this is a very significant level right here. So as long as it can, right now, as long as it can stay inside the wedge and also stay below this high, this is a lower high, and then we have some lower lows. And so right now it's trending. Now it could come up and retest all the way up here. And if it stops me out, which it may very well do, I'm just going to have to accept that, but also look at the fact that this may be another way for it to break up. But we take our best shot at it and we let it go and see what happens.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised for it to come back and tag that trend line. A third hit on a trend line like that, that's a trade. If it comes up, tags that line, and starts pulling back, I will actually take another position in the down spot. So we'll see what happens. But there's no financial advice, right? You take your trade, you're responsible for it.
I'm going to move my stop up a little bit higher on this because this right now, I'd like to see it stay above this trend right here. So I'm going to move this on up a little bit. I'll give it 10 pips. So I try and start off with 7 pips, and most of the time 7 pips will work. But when I start seeing a significant area where it needs to break, I'm going to try and stay above that area. So I'll just give this one a little bit more room.
And we're not overly committed to one direction either, right, Al? If it comes up, it breaks through the top there. 1, we're going to close our position in that direction. 2, if it comes back down, tags the top of the wedge, does it pass? It passes the line, it comes back, checks it. And then that's another valid entry. So we'll see what happens here, guys.
Yeah, this thing, I mean, oftentimes it gets very committed very early. This one's not doing quite so much, but we're still have to
No,
play, we're still working with the price action.
it's
And like I
funny
said,
how you're.
we're working with a very, very tight stop. I mean, 10 pips is still, if someone would have told me 2 years ago that you can trade the Forex with a 10 pip stop, I would say you're crazy. But we do it every day, we do it daily with 7 pips and sometimes even less than that.
You see how you got your entry zone? It's interesting how that made a little bit of a valid trend line. You know, you got a nice third hit on that entry zone at the bottom.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is tight, guys. When I talk to people outside of our community and they're trading Forex and they're position sizing and it's more like swing trading. And I tell them we're using 7 pips and 10 pip stop losses. They're like, no, you're not. There's no way you have that kind of precision. The money is found in the precision and minimizing your losses. You can win. Al says it all the time. You can have someone that has a 95% win rate. It takes one terrible trade to dust your account. One terrible trade. It's not about your win rate. It's how small your losses are when you take them. Because if you can mitigate your losses, then your odds of becoming a consistent, successful trader are much higher. Your goal as a trader is not to make profit. It's to not lose the money that you have in your trading account and then potentially make profit.
That's so true.
If you don't got money to play the game, you're in trouble. The biggest blow to a person's ego is refunding a trading account because they didn't listen to their strategy or they didn't have enough volume of trades in the actual laboratory of demo before they went live. Vast majority of people are egotistical monsters. We have an ego. That will tear us apart if we're not careful. And that's why I love trading with a community, and I love what we have here. Al and Brian keep me under control. We find things that work. The technicals, I understand. The technicals are not your problem. Your problem is, or your biggest challenge is not the technicals. And if you, don't get me wrong, you need to learn the technicals, okay? You need to learn how to draw trend lines properly. You need to learn certain things about certain indicators. And we're trying to streamline it so that your learning curve is as, I don't know, maybe short as possible. We're trying to compress time frames as much as we can. You're not going to understand everything. We're not going to go over Elliott wave. We're not going to go over every aspect of Fibonacci. We're just basically handing you the tools that we found that worked and what has worked for us and saying, hey, this is going to be overwhelming. If you're brand new and this is like learning an entire new language, be kind to yourself because you're going to get there. Just understand that there's a lot more to this than just the technicals. If you want to read a really good book.
And speaking of the technical, sorry, Matt, to interrupt, but right
Go
now
ahead.
you can see
No, you're fine.
Up,
go.
It came up into the wedge. It came back into our sell zone. And now it's starting to mature again to the downside. So that was, again, you can see how, whoops, didn't want to do that. You can see how this top red line, our trend line, was respected, and now it's starting to come back in and retest this the bottom of the wedge.
What's that? 1 pip? Is that 1 pip from your trend line?
Well, actually, I moved it up to the this is where the entry was right about in. I think it was right about in here, pretty much.
Yeah, we're talking about a pip, guys. 1 pip from that line. That's pretty solid. This is called precision. So check this out. Comes into that entry zone, potentially rejects it. We'll see what happens. But one of the books that I would highly recommend, okay, I have it on my bookshelf. I'm staring at it right now, is The Compound Effect. And another iteration of that is a different view on the same subject is The Slight Edge by Darren Hardy. Compound Effect is super powerful. If you haven't read it or you don't have it yet, go get it. There's lots of reviews on YouTube. Go figure it out. But your mindset is what everyone talks about mindset, no one teaches it. Because it's not something that can be so much taught as has to be worked on over time. Do I think that we're ever going to get to a point where we don't have to work on mindset? Never. If you're not comfortable drawing wedges, not good. But understand that we didn't come out of mama's womb doing technical analysis and drawing trend lines. Wedges are simply 2 trend lines that intersect with each other. They eventually do. Wedges, triangles, and AIRIS gives us the best wedges I've ever found. You know, personally, I've drawn about anywhere from 400 to 500 wedges myself. I believe Brian mentioned yesterday that he's gone back and he drew every one of the AIRIS alerts. So that's 600 and plus since September. No, not September. From April. April, yeah, 600 and some, right?
A little over that now.
Yeah.
All right, so
Now, one thing, well, let's get back to the charts here a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
What we're looking at is that we've got the, you can see here on the 15-minute, we've got our 3-point spread on our Swiss to US, which means the Swiss is starting to get stronger. The US is starting to get a little bit weaker. We've got the strength on the Swiss side on all 3 charts, and it's still trying to break through the bottom. We had a nice little wick up, came back through, and now it's we're still waiting for it to break down, and right now everything's still looking like it has that capability. We have our 62 moving average on our 15-minute chart, which you can see where it's now broken that. It hasn't closed, but we still have 11 more minutes. If this thing can close below that 62, we have all of our moving at we have our 5 lead and our 13, but on all the lower time frame charts, the 62, the 13, and the 5 are all in the proper order to go short. We have strength over here. We have strength on the Swiss. And right now, there's no reason to get out of this trade. We did take a little bit of a heat coming up to the top of that trend line, but right now the trend line is being respected. As it's breaking through the bottom, we now have the nice red candle. We had a nice strong candle, blue candle coming up, an equally stronger candle going short. That was our head fake. You can see where he gets a strong move up, comes back in. Strong move up, came back in, and now it's starting to break down. And we're still looking at our target down here at 94.43. It's starting to pick up a little bit of momentum right now.
yeah, we're almost at opening of the New York session, aren't we?
Not quite yet. It's only 8:49, so we still have another hour and 10 minutes, or 40 minutes still to go before the 9:30 open.
Seems like this has been a fast morning. Let's put it that way. Katarina actually has her session at 10 o'clock, right? Is that what I understand? 10 a.m. this morning?
I don't know.
Okay, let me...
Yes, we're done at 9:55 today.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
I would say 9:50 just to give it some room.
Yeah, let's...
A little shorter
yeah.
day today.
Yeah, it'll be it's a hard stop because they need the room, right? So.
And I'll give everybody reminders at 9:45. That way we can see where we're at.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe set up something. If we get more alerts, what we do is we kind of play it out, have a game plan for those potential trades, and everyone's on their own after that. But this is a quick morning.
This thing just doesn't want to. Yeah, we're not in here a real long time today.
But you see how it keeps on making lower highs, right? Lower high, lower high. So let's see what happens here.
We still have to respect the fact that we still have to respect the C area of this is still our target area. But we also have a little bit of an area right in here that we're having to be aware of. And it still keeps on trying to respect this big push up on this 15-minute. Here was like a rally, a base. So it's actually, this is the area where it's struggling right through here between, and that's what you do is you look to the left on some of your higher time frames and see where it struggled the last time. And so this was we had a low here, it rallied up, actually had a little bit of a wedge right in this area. And now it's coming back in here, and this is why it's having some struggle. Once it can get through this, it'll be coming down, checking out this area down in here.
Let's look for a hook back on the RSI at the 1 minute. Take a look how that might play out in the next little bit. You might have a hook on the fast. Yeah.
It'll come up to the 89 if it gets a little bit hooked. Now, one concern is that this one's coming out of the 60 area.
That's true.
I'm just going to take this off. Let's
see what happens.
Again, we're looking at, is it going to test this or not? And you see this thing's actually sloping down a little bit more. Here we had a high, we had a little bit of a lower high. Here we have a lower high still. If we look at this 5-minute chart, just this little area right here, you can see this got lower high. Here's a hit. Here's a hit. I'll tweak it on the 1 minute.
Looks like a wedge inside of a wedge and maybe another wedge.
Well, so it keeps on making lower highs. Here was a high, lower high, lower high, lower high, low. This was a little bit of a higher low, but it broke. Came back to retest, and now we'll see what happens here. This one's been relatively flat today. It's barely traded it off of from the alert. The range from the alert has actually only been, let's see how many pips that we got from the high from the alert to the low right here. It's only been 17 pips over the last almost 2.5 hours.
The whole moving average on the 15, did that just, that didn't flip yet, right? So that is one of my major indicators that I will use is if, for this specific strategy.
Red line. That's the top red line.
If the 15-minute whole moving average does change red, I will really consider this trade to be, green. If it comes against me, I'm potentially considering closing that out, no matter where it is in the trade. Just because of what I know from the hull and how some of the back testing. So the hull is really cool. You're going to want to potentially use it it's a great money management system as well. It'll give you over 70% of the move from the origination of the move till the reversal or the change in direction. So you can go back test that if you want.
Well, you can see from the time I broke the wedge from the time I broke the wedge, and came back the second time right here. By the time from that time period to the low, it's only going 3.5 pips, which means it's still in a very, very tight range. Oftentimes this one gives us a little bit faster response than this one is today. I don't know if there's Swiss news today. Let me see what kind of news we have today.
That's true. We never
There
did
is.
check the news, right?
I
We
think
got
we're
lots
done
of
with
stuff
it though.
going on.
What was that?
7:30. I think we had a 7:30 USD news. I looked at it when I got set things up this morning, but
Right now it's trading in probably about a 6 pip range, 57.5 to 48. It's been trading in about a 9 pip range for the last half hour. And this is where you just have to maintain a certain degree of patience. So there's a real battle going on right at this area.
US CAD came back into our original entry zone again. It's gone up twice, 7 pips twice. This is the third time. Well, we don't know if it's going to go up or not, but
Looks like the CAD was the better one to trade today.
So you're talking about potentially getting 2 trades on one wedge alert? What are you talking about?
I did it, yeah. I'm actually in it again.
Why don't you go and show your screen again there, Brian? Perhaps
Okay.
so. I'm going to stop sharing it if you can share your screen.
Let me try to get over to where I have to slide everything over. I've been watching yours. I'm just letting this thing do its thing. I clear it off so it doesn't confuse a bunch of people. There we go.
You got it? I'm going to
Yeah,
stop sharing. I think I
I
stopped
got
sharing.
it.
There we go.
I got in again right here. So let me blow it up. My aggressive early entry was back here, and then I got it in again right here, and then I got it in again right here. I'm watching this one a little. It's the nice thing is my stop's now below the wedge, so it's not a big deal. So it's going to have to come through a lot of different things on the 1 minute at least. And you got, like Al shows all the time, I mean, you got trend lines all over the place that's really my stop area at this point, because I don't really want to waste profit that I've had. There's no reason to. So I'm holding on. Even though my stop's further away, I'm really going to take a manual out on this one if it closes below that yellow line. There's just no reason to dig into profits that are already taken. So now,
No, exactly.
by the time it comes back, I'm almost back to even, break even. If it closes below here, maybe 2 pips, maybe at most. And it could whip you right down out. But as of right now, everything's still in order. I mean, pretty boring. I mean, it's just, you're in a range right now.
Boring and monotonous is completely fine, though.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
That's
This
why
actually,
I do. Oh, go ahead.
This one right here, what was really odd about this first whip out, half of my position was taken off. The other half did not get filled. That's how fast it moved up and got out of there. I got the entire position, second entry two, all filled here because it stayed up there longer to get the orders filled. But this whipped up so fast and came back down, and then half of my order didn't get filled for my target. That means it just got whipped in, whipped out. That's probably about right before news is my bet. Yeah, 7:20-ish. This is the news time. So this is, again, okay, so now what I would do, because I don't want to waste money, because I got a rally-based rally there, this is where I would go, and I'm almost to the top of so at this point I'm break even. So hold on one second. Gotta move some stuff.
And if you're new to trading, there's no harm in using a really small trading account. You can use a $15 trading account with 500 times leverage and just take some small positions.
There we go. I moved
And I'm going to get out of this trade. It looks like it's just broke that top wedge. I'm going to close out of this trade.
For what, the UCAD?
The US Swiss. The US Swiss.
Yeah, it came
US
against me.
Just just broke over the top of that trend line that upper trend line that we had. It broke that, and the US is flipped to the strong side with a 6 or 7, and so I'm just going to get out of that trade and stop trading this one today.
I'm not so sure. Although I'm looking at this thing. Let's look at a little higher time frame here. I don't know if I want to get out yet.
On your Swiss?
From my CAD. I like that one better. I'll just leave it alone. Give it a little bit of room. I'll still be just a half pip if it happens to close. Everything's strong, the US. Well, you got 5 and 2. That's huge. The only thing that's concerning is the 5-minute hole is not green, but that doesn't concern me. And so I have a feeling we're going to come back down to this nice 30-minute level.
I think the coup de grace, or whatever you want to call it, is that 15-minute hull moving average. If it flips against you, I would really consider getting out of the trade.
I still have trading hangover from last night.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yesterday was a little brutal.
3 sessions yesterday. That's a lot. Okay, so what we got here? Ooh, that's a strong move. It's got to close below it, though. Here's your demand line right there. So I would had 2 positions that actually reached the 7 pip target, and the one is sitting at just below break even at this point. But I don't want to wipe away one. I mean, if I wipe a little away, it's fine, but
there we go.
There's your battle at the demand line. Y'all see that green demand line sitting right there? That's a fib number. And so it hadn't been able to close below it yet. And that's where I'm waiting. If it closes below, I may end up losing a little bit more pips on it, but I want to see a close below that line.
Yeah, but technical analysis doesn't work. It's always fundamentals. And fundamentals rule the charts. I'm like, no, they don't. Don't trade fundamentals. Trade technical analysis. Just stack the odds in your favor. Don't worry about really what government says or what this says or.
Not on this time.
I don't have time to worry about what government says what and what China's doing and who's this. I try to stay away from red news folders because they tend to, I don't know, accelerate things a little too fast, especially on these time frames, these low time frames. And I'm not trading wedges on non-farm payroll, but just don't worry about the fundamentals. Just worry about what's in your control. You have no control over the fundamentals, but you have control over your technical analysis and where you put your trend lines.
This is your candle that's going to close below. I'd be shocked if it doesn't by the structure of the other two candles before it. And
yeah, you got a 513.62 cross too on the 1 minute. So
right.
And you got a lower high. So we'll see what happens.
10 seconds and I've got my finger on the button. I'd hate to watch it another minute though. It's gonna drive me nuts. Okay, close below. Where's the start of the new? And I am out. So 1.5 pip loss.
Hey, 1.5 pip loss and 14 pip gain?
Yeah, a little over 14.
Yeah, so you're 13. So whatever. After you pay the dealer, you're still what, potentially 4%?
4.2.
Guys, did you just hear that? 4.2%. What does that take software to do? A week? We did that in what, an hour and a half?
Well, we did it a couple times if we wanted to watch this one pair. I mean, literally this one was fast.
Yeah. And it was all about having a really good entry. So
let's talk. How many we got newbies in here, so we can do this real quick since we're in more of a demo mode now. So let's go back. Yeah. Let's go back and I'll blow this thing up and show you guys what it looked like at the alert. So let's close this out and we'll start from, so we didn't get we didn't get a real beginning of this session today. And so this will slow things down for you guys a bit. And we already know what happened. So this is not really great back testing. So we're going to try a little bit of back testing even though we already know what happened. So, because I don't want to do it completely back because we're not that far back. So we go to, let me get over here to my alerts again. That's not that one. That's this one here. Do you have your alerts on your screen? No wonder I don't have it. Things popping up. So I'm going to go log back into my account and I'm going to go over to my notifications, IRIS, and I'm going to check and see what that was. That would have been US CAD 6:30 in the morning. So, and that's ascending. So what I'm going to do is find my chart again. There it is. I'm not used to having it backwards here. There we go. So this is our 6:30. So we mark it with a vertical line. That's the first thing we do. You guys check the chat box because I won't be able to see it. It's ascending. So what we've got to do with an ascending, you can do what a lot of people do. They draw the 15-minute. We just using general lines. We got to ignore everything to the right of the blue vertical line though. And let me just change the color here just so it doesn't mix with the other one. Let's go with pink today. How about that? Pink is great. There we go. And so then we have to find our tool over here, triangle. I like the triangle. I used to draw the lines. They're not quite as precise as the triangle was going to be. So what I did right from the beginning is I started with my pivot low, and I went to, at the time, the pivot high, and back to the pivot low. And what I did is straighten it out. That's called a flat top or a flat bottom. Very simple. Now, I've got a problem here right from the beginning, is I cut wicks and candles, and I can't do that. So I'm finding the lows that don't cut anything. So it ends up being right there. And then I clean that up just a tad. Doesn't have to be perfect. Ignore everything to the right of the wedge. Okay, and this candle right here is not breaking because this is a 15-minute. This hadn't finished yet. When we got the alert, this wasn't quite like this yet. It was close, but it wasn't quite there. It was actually lower down until I got it. And that's why I ended up rushing so fast through the trade. I dropped down immediately to the 1. Al goes to the 5, then he goes to 1. There's nothing wrong with either way. It's just your own personal preference. I'm definitely push the gas, go. Let's move it. I'm not quite as methodical. I'm ready to get it set and go. So you can see lots of touches right here, lots of touches. So that's a good verification. I want to come in here and clean up the C. I like my C like Al, right up next to the as close to the alert as I can get. And my B is perfectly fine. I can come over here and put it here, this one, or I can put it here on this one. It's still flat top. And it really, we're talking minute. We're not even talking any sort of, and I can't pay attention to anything on the right. So knowing that we had this, now I'm going to go back, and this is what it looks like. That's just the simple drawing of the wedge. This is not magical other than we're waiting for a breakout. What I liked about it, what I saw about it on the 1, is that my top of my wedge was just above this 30-minute 62. And I was thinking right here, if this thing can just break above and close above this 32 or the 62, we could have a move up. Okay, so let's go back in time just so you can see the thinking process of what it looked like, and hopefully it'll keep there we go. So again, we're looking on a 1-minute chart, and you're trying to figure out what you're going on in your brain as you're coming through this. And notice the alert hasn't quite happened yet, but notice we also have our grid lines at 2 pips. So these moves aren't huge. These are very small candles. And so we move forward to the alert. Okay, there's where our first alert came. It actually came right here, not on that 15-minute candle. That 15-minute candle, you'll see it'll be a little bit heavier here in a second. And there's where we started seeing some reaction. Now, I'm not in the trade yet, so I was already putting my lines in, and I'm just going to do the 2 pip above so you can see my entry zone. That's close enough. I don't know what that trend line is, but I'm going to move it. And I'm going to use it. That's generally my entries. Now, I will mark that red and green just so you know it's going long or short. We had some people in our class yesterday that did not understand what going long and short was. Long means you're buying, short means you're selling. It's just terminology. Call it what you want.
Oh, one more thing, guys, and we don't talk about this very often, at least not as much as we should. But if you're a member of Auvoria Prime, which you are, you have a tremendous resource, and it's actually education from none other than Adeze Duncan. And if you're new and you don't know what long and short is, or some of the other things that we talk about, go take those courses, guys. That's where I got my foundation in the Forex, is from Adeze Duncan. From a previous, I've known her for couple of years at this point. I've known of her and I've met her in person. Tremendous woman, great teacher, and it's basically built into your subscription that you get education from, to my knowledge and in my personal opinion, because I can only speak of my own personal opinion, arguably one of the best Forex educators out there when it comes specifically to taking someone that is wet behind the ears and totally green to someone who is a little bit more competent. The best. Good luck finding someone better than Adeze Duncan.
Besides Al, I'm going to give Al kudos. Al's good.
Yes.
We got to love on Al.
But she has taught professionally, like as a teacher, as an educator in the I think it was school system, university, or some form. So she is not just like a Forex trader, but
pretty solid.
Oh yeah, she's solid.
So as we got into this, couple thing I look at. I don't pay attention quite as much to the RSI. I'm aware of it where it's at, but it's not my decision maker. I don't normally pay attention to the whole moving average as my decision maker either. I am aware of it. I want it to be all green. I'm really looking for the RCS strength on the 15-minute chart. And that's what I use majority of the time to do this. So let me go ahead and we already know, I'm not going to mark this down here because we already know that this thing went long. Normally I would go through the whole process of going through, but we already saw it. So if we didn't see it, then I would have been okay. So I'm not in this trade. Now, this is the first time I got it. I thought, okay, this is the one. I have my close. I had my one candle. It's in my green zone to go long. I had a little bit of a funny feeling that this was a head fake. I don't know what it was. Other than that this was red, it didn't feel right to me. Normally, I'm jumping in on this. And so I didn't though this time. And I'm glad I didn't because I would have been okay, but it's not a great way to start a trade when you're immediately going like that. You know, you're immediately going, well, because what happens inevitably is, oh, do I need to get out? Do I need to get out? This thing's going to break down below. And everything else was telling me on the 15, it still showed the U.S. being ahead of the CAD. So I wasn't really worried about this. Just seemed to me like a pullback. So I just waited. Okay. And it went right down to the bottom of the wedge. And then from there on out, it was magical. And it just did what it lingered and then when it gave its signal, this one got my attention again because it didn't close. So I was thinking, man, this may very well turn down because at this point, the U.S. CAD on the 15-minute marking, CAD had flipped just temporarily over the top. And then that one is the one that got my attention. It's not in the zone yet to buy, but once we had that close above it, flipped back again. Notice we're ahead here. Now I'm thinking, okay, I need just another close. That didn't do it for me. That one didn't do it for me. That one did. So the next candle in I took because it went all the way to the top, and I was going to get in. And so thankfully it turned red first and I got in here. So at this point I was dead center. My fill was not horrible. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. And my spread was better than here on the trading platform here. So I dropped this off, and this is where you guys saw it came in, and I felt really confident about, a little bit more confident about this entry because of the fact is that my 7 pip stop was almost right at the wedge, so I actually had a hard stop down here. I wanted to give it room to respect this trend line still. So it really was on my MT4, I actually had it marked off a little bit lower down. And so I just played it out. And this is where we're going to see where it spiked. And you could have actually got in here too, guys, just so you're aware. It would have been much different. Or here. Or here. It wasn't like it ran away, or there. So there's plenty of time. Sometimes they run, but I try not to chase. But that's why I create this entry zone, is because I have a tendency of pushing the button really fast. It gives me confidence in it. And we linger. And that was the first one that spiked out, and I did not get filled except for half of my position because I took 2 positions on it. Didn't understand that, but it is what it is. Could have got in again if I wanted to there. Same thing happened. You hit your 7 pips. So that's 1, 2. I only took it 3 times though. This is the next entry I had. Almost the same identical spot I had before. A little bit. But by this time, guys, I did pull this up. Pulled this up to there. 2 pips away from the wedge. And you just play it out like this, and you watch how candles react. And there's our next target that we hit. And then my final one that I actually did. So you actually could have played this here, any of these places inside the zone based on your own personal preferences of what you like in your entries. I mean, this was pretty dynamic there with this. That's why this is what I was watching before when it set up this morning, this 62 moving average. I thought that was going to be a key play. And that's why it was a key play on my exit. So I did take it again right there. And you see how close I did get close to getting, and then I got stopped out. Right there. And that's our day. I mean, and I'm glad I got out, because look what's broken below now, where you really could go in and look at, do I want to go short at this point? So let's look at it real quickly and see what the chart, because here's our first, we have our 15-minute break out of that. We're coming back in. That's the 1 minute. Not bad. Everything's set up on 1 minute for some reason.
Could have been unsynced.
That may be.
Or maybe you were flipping through and
So fast, it didn't even know.
Exactly. I've done that more than one occasion. But I did take it short on my small account. So
I'm thinking it because look at 15 minutes red, 5 minutes red. The only one that's not is this. Cat is 2 points above. I'll have no problem taking this short. Let's just do it for fun. It's not a live account, guys. Just so we can see what's going on here. Take profit and stop and go. A pretty poor entry, but it'll at least get us something to play with as our minutes kind of pass by. Any questions in the chat box, guys? Did we know of any? Did I miss something?
I've seen nothing yet.
No, it's been very quiet. It's been very quiet.
It means they're learning.
Well, I don't know. I'd rather have a lot of questions. It kind of gives a direction to the session. So, but that's just my
fourth graders. If they don't answer questions, I just tell them, hey, okay, that means you understand. Don't ask me again. That's my fourth graders.
Yeah.
Which apparently we may be teaching online again. They're talking about making us go online now again.
Oh, not surprised.
I was looking forward to going back to class.
Things are changing rapidly.
Every day.
Things are changing rapidly. Even my office now, we're not going back for 3 months. Basically, the only people that are going back are people that can't work remotely. So,
okay, we will come into a problem, and I want you guys to look at this. We didn't talk much about the tools today, but this is a fib plotter. This fib plotter was designed off of my Monday night session where I basically blew up an account on a swing. I was trying to day trade, back myself to an hour chart, back myself to a 2 hour chart, to the 4 hour chart, finally got to the 6 hour chart, still blowing up counts, got to the daily chart, and still was frustrated. And all the education I had spent money on and my background, I thought, man, this is ridiculous. And I went back to the original, realizing that banks and institutions do not have charts. They don't use these things. They have price. And so I thought, okay, if that's the case, and I know that's the case because I used to do it, I would manually draw in lines where price always seemed to have a reaction. They weren't color coded back then. They were just gray lines. And I did it on every chart. Every trade that I would take, I had lines all over the place, horizontal lines where price had a reaction. What we found out through a developer who's an engineer kind of guy, programmer type, is that every number that I picked, every line that I drew was somehow tied to a Fibonacci with a clock system. I don't understand the mathematics all behind it, but that's where this tool was designed from. Fibonacci price plotter is what it's called right now. We're going to change the name, though, to make it simple because people get a misunderstanding. Fibonacci is normally retracements, and we do that. These are standard standalone numbers. This 3529 will never move. It will always be on the 5 minute chart. This is a 1 minute chart, but I'm using a 5 minute setting. It will always be blue on this pair at 35.29. It will not change. And so with that being said, I want you to go back. We took this thing short. I already know going into this trade that I'm going to have a problem right here. Don't know what that problem is going to be. It could blast through it. Most likely not. It's probably going to hesitate. And depending on where they really want price to go, it will either continue on if they want it to come down, or it's going to retrace back up again. But we're going to get a reaction. The reason being, if you look in the past, again, Al says always look left. Look where this blue line sits all the way back and even here. We're going further back, and then we run out of time with the 1 minute chart, or do we? Look right here. There's a perfect, it dropped from it. It reacted to it. So the blue lines are very, very key to understanding that's a major, major wall. And if I happen to come in here, and I'm just curious, because I don't memorize the ones on these time frames. I have the ones pretty much memorized on the daily because I do it all the time. I'm curious to see if that number is going to, yeah, okay. So now watch. This is now a 15-minute fib. What was blue on a 5 is now green on a 15. Green means it's strong level of support. So this is going to be a dog. This one's going to be a dog to get through. And that doesn't mean it won't. It just means that I have to be prepared for a nice retracement back to my entry point, if not further, before it maybe continues, unless they're going to force it down. And it will be a grind. So we'll just.
Is that a Texas term, a dog?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, we don't say that up here in Canada.
Was it a cat?
No.
You gotta have, you gotta have a dog in the fight. Is kind of where it came from.
Yeah, maybe a yak. I don't know.
So
yeah,
says
like
our bounty.
Yeah, maybe a moose. Maybe moose or a beaver. Hey, we got some questions. So, starting lot size, guys. Can't emphasize this enough. Starting lot size is dependent on your account size, not on that. So we need proper position sizing.
That's huge.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll drop that in the chat box. We got a position size calc. Matter of fact, it's in the Telegram channel. Just scroll up to the top.
When I see starting lot size, what it's telling me is that, and I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's either two things. One, you want to know the size of my trading account, or two, position sizing is not something you're comfortable with yet.
Right.
But I know. All right, another question. But I know is living. Can you show us how to use the triangle tool? All right.
Yeah, I can do that.
Let's do triangle tool. Let me check another one here. Can you show how to use and set the price action lines? That's actually the indicator that we're working on.
And we're working on that. We're working on getting the developer in tuned with Auvoria Prime, making sure we follow through all, and we just haven't heard back yet.
There's a lot of red tape to cross because of the nature of the business of network marketing and stuff. So not to get too super deep in there, but there are some dots and crosses that we need to take care of before we can. But it's in the works. So please sit patient. We are working diligently to get some tools readily available so that you don't need no fancy Pro Plus version of TradingView to be able to trade almost exactly, well, specifically the technical side of this.
So there's that green line. I'm going to go back to the Aussie US at 4 o'clock this morning, my time, just so we can have a clean slate. But you can see, again, I told you we were going to have a problem here. It's not huge, but it may be a struggle to get through it. So let's go to Aussie US. And let's go.
Got one more question, friend.
Okay.
So I got to know that while making this wedge, the A point will be the lowest point and B will be the high.
That depends. That's what we're going to talk
about. And there will
be
a C and a D.
Yeah.
So
we'll talk about that. That all comes down to what kind of wedge AIRIS gives you. Is it descending or ascending? If it's descending wedge, then your A is going to be up on top, B is going to be on bottom, C is going to be on top, and D is going to be on bottom. It will flip if it's ascending. If it's ascending, you'll start with the bottom. So we're going to start with an ascending first, and then we'll do a descending kiwi. And we got 15 minutes to do so. So let me get to the 15-minute chart. There's nothing on here that's going to, and let's get rid of this just to keep everything quiet. And let's go back to 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay. This is triangle. So let me get this over here. And that was ascending wedge at 4 o'clock in the morning. Just remember again, guys, when we go back testing this stuff, this candle is completed. So I put it just a little bit ahead because it's really going to be the one next to it because it hasn't happened yet. So it said ascending wedge. Okay. Not a big fan of this already. That doesn't mean it's not bad or good. Ascending, you have to start from the bottom first. So your triangle tool's over here. So you've got this little pull down, just find your triangle tool. I've made a favorite of mine. And so we've got it ascending. So I don't like this for a couple reasons. Number one, the alert is below the real pivot low. So it's going to be a little squirrely, but I'm going to show you how to do it from here. So that's our low, and that's 2 sessions back. That's why it's not a big fan. I'm not a big fan. So I go to my big pivot low, my big pivot high, and then I snug up my C right up to the as close as I can. And we want it to be ascending. So really what I have to do to force this, and when I force it, I don't like it, is I have to kind of, I could do it that way, like that, because the bottom is ascending. I'm not a big fan of this particular wedge, but I can drop down if it'll keep my wedge there, and it did, thankfully. We can go find a better one within the time frame, maybe. That go, see, and what happens there, notice now we're descending, and that's a problem. So we have to have our A at a point where it's at least flat to ascending. And so that's those are pretty, B and D is pretty solid. It's pretty tucked in there pretty nicely. Not a big fan. It's almost like a flat bottom. And so, and it's not going to let me blow it up too much, but I can get a, there we go. This was a lot of trouble to draw, and it's not great. So I would never trade this, but that's one wedge. Let's see what it played out like real quick. We're not using any indicator other than the wedge itself. There's no tool. I know it's really small. Let's see if they'll let me blow it up now. There we go. Now we broke down ascending. It's touching the wedge. It could be a head fake or it could be continuing on. And those separation, that's 10 pips here. So you could have got your target right here. And that's how it played out. I mean, that's your entry. And there's your target. Now, could it continue? Sure. And you may, yeah, I was going to say you may get another entry. Because remember, the dollar got strong, but obviously if dollar was sitting at 3 and 4 most of the day, Aussie had to be higher because we saw where the Swiss and CAD was. Now we're back in the wedge. There's another one. And it just keeps playing the wedge. And that's where we are right now. Really messy in here. That's really messy. You probably could have got it in here. So let's go look at, that was ascending. Let's see if the Kiwi does this any better. Same time frame. Yeah. Yeah, we remember that one well. Okay, so same time frame. 4 o'clock in the morning. Let's slide this over.
4 o'clock in the morning, Brian. I don't like 4 o'clock in the morning.
I'm still asleep.
No, but and the other thing is just it's just when the London session opens. And I'm not trading it, so I don't really worry too much about the alerts around that time. If I go back test, I'm going to stick around the testing around the times that I will actually be trading. I like my sleep. I'm not up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I like having a little bit of freedom like that. So Yeah, I don't do
It's good to
4-5.
practice. I don't trade this time of the day. I just don't. It's not worth it to me. And this one, this is descending. So you're descending, you start high. This one's definitely a little easier. So here's your high, and we may end up cutting some wicks here, so we'll have to make some adjustments. Here's your pivot low. Here's your high. And then you come in and clean it up like so. And really, you have to fix that up a little bit because it's a little messy with the A because we cut a lot of wicks. And so there's your wedge. And that one was played out a lot easier for me, a lot easier. And then we go clean it up if we need to. Don't have to. That's close enough. It almost became very channel looking like, and channels I try to avoid too. There we go. And so we've drawn our wedge, and the D sometimes we can pull it in here like this. We can put it in close, or we can pull it way out. Does not matter. It's what's going to guide making sure you stay with trend lines. Okay, making sure your trend lines are strong. So let's see what this does. Again, we're not using anything other than our wedge. I'm not looking at indicators. We're practicing drawing wedges at this point. And so we just run it. My bet is it's going to go on the high side, but doesn't mean it won't drop like the Aussie did. There's your first. You could have taken, these are 5 pip zones. Let me blow this up a little bit so you can get a little bit more picture of what it would look like. So this would possibly be an entry, and you would have very close to your 7 pips at this point. Need a little bit more down. That one probably would have got your 7 pips. But at some point we're going to start mocking. Remember, we had China news too, and that kind of ties together with Aussie and the Kiwi. Now my bet we'll have a high break and a head fake. And be pretty much like the Aussie is, where we're kind of flat in the zone with no real direction, staying within the wedge. This one is a whole lot prettier than, so let's just say we would have got in here. We don't know. Let's just say we got in here. You would have, if you got a good spread, you would have made it. Most likely, I would have probably taken it out for a 5 pip if I didn't quite get it. But right now, we're waiting again, and not a bad time to do so. So again, we got a nice, if we come in here, we put our moving averages. There's our wall that we need to be aware of. We come in, put our other key indicators. We said we were looking to possibly be a breakout. Kiwi is stronger than the dollar on the 1 minute. Let's go back and fix all these up. There's our 15. Kiwi stronger by 1. Everything's in order for that. Pull this over so we can see it. And we're getting ready to break out. Stop. Stop it. I hate that thing. And profit was taken. What would we trade? The U.S. Swiss again? What was that?
It was U.S. Swiss. We were on the U.S. Swiss for a while.
And so we must have taken profit. Because I heard the
Or maybe an alert.
Yeah, so that may have been a break of, or was it the backside of the CAD? May have been the backside of the CAD.
Yeah, it was the, I mean,
It was the backside of the CAD.
It's basically coming down to a starting approach to the low of where we originally had it. It's still bouncing off that 62, 15 minute 62 for the second time, actually the third or fourth time. So this could be, it's hard to say
Also,
right now. There's no real strength to the U.S. or the Swiss both. So,
and this is a fib line too. So that's a fib as well. It did finally, notice how it had a pretty good hesitation. We said we were having a hesitation. When you have a wick above and a wick down, right at the blue line, there's a what they call a basing there on a lower time frame. Probably your 1 minute, you'll see a solid basing for a good bit of time. My bet is we could very easily come right back up into here, bounce, and then continue on down to the green line. or it decides it wants to go straight down to the green line. There's no way to know.
And that is what I'm staying away from for the rest of the day here.
Yeah, I'm not trading anymore today. There's no reason for me to do that. So really, technically, if we really wanted to be overly trading, 3 trades here, 2 wins and a loss, short
All right.
and a win.
I already took another sell in there, but whatever. That's just my small account. I don't mind messing around. You know, I'm only playing with a 10-cent pip on that. So
It's the most wonderful time of the year, trading a candy bar for a hamburger.
yeah, pretty much. I'm basically
You're
I'm
actually
working.
doing bubble gum for a candy bar if you're doing 10 cents.
You can't even buy bubble gum in Canada for 10 cents. But the whole concept, even with what I'm trying to do just on my side, my own experiment, is I want to take $15, flip it to 100, and then flip it. So I want to keep on flipping that small little account and see conservatively, not hyper aggressive. You know, I want to start $15 and take it as far as we can go.
No problem on that. We had somebody in the chat say thanks for the clarification. No problem. That's every day. Every day. I would not be shocked if this thing does come back up to that blue line, though. It's not close below it yet. It wouldn't shock me.
No, that's the 15-minute 62, huh?
That's the
Yeah.
fib number. It's the 15-minute fib
Oh,
number.
no, sorry. Yeah, I was looking at your
That 35.29 area that we were talking about earlier being a green demand zone on the 15. Well,
Okay,
once
yeah.
demand becomes supply, and we're kind of coming into that wick right here. Is only talking a pip or two. So come up to here and then fall back away if it really wants to go down. Any questions, guys? We're going to probably shut this thing down just a little bit early so we can have Catalina get into the Zoom room for Auvoria Prime and get herself set up as well. Any questions before we head out? Nothing in the chat box?
Okay, and so we'd like to thank everybody for being here today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had a
Busy day.
quite a nice little crowd.
Busy.
So
Busy
anyway.
day. Lots of trades today. That's kind of crazy. It's
All right, God bless you all, and
Y'all take
thank you
care.
so much for spending your time this morning with us. You guys are really special, and you guys are gonna get it. We're
See you
on
guys.
this journey together.
Don't forget tomorrow morning, same time. We'll see you guys then.
See you,
So
folks.
long, everybody.